In the tech world, the month of August is all about foldables. So if it's foldable season, we're not only talking about the Samsung Fold and the Flip, we're very excited about those next week on Tech Today, but this week, I have a very special convertible. A 2-in-1, one of the best flagship 2-in-1s in the market, has sort of gotten better. Or has it gotten better? That's the question we're asking on the show this week. The HP Spectre X360. Is this convertible enough to convert all the Apple MacBook fanboys? Well, that's what we're going to find out. Now, as a daily driver, I use an iPad Air with a Magic Keyboard. You can say that that is not the most efficient, productive setup, but it works for me. And I do this show from that particular device as well. But I think that's mobile, it's compact, and you can travel with it. For a lot of people, this is a very fascinating form factor. A convertible 2-in-1 laptop, you can place it in 4 different ways, this being one obviously. If you're writing, then you can always go full flat, and it comes with this pen. You can do all sorts of drawing and jotting notes. Then when you want to go into laptop phase is when you turn it around like this and becomes an ordinary laptop as well. You have other permutations and combinations, but you get the drift. What really does strike out is the design and the fact that they've gone with this nocturne blue color. There's another fascinating copper-like color which I also like with it, but this nocturne blue color looks really good. It's strikingly very premium. Even the logo placement is kind of cool. It's not a traditional HP logo. It's very different from their baseline of notebooks. But then you have these vents at the bottom, these very cool sharp edges. They make it look a lot like the MacBook Air M2, but then that's only on this side. Very asymmetric, because then it gets rounded over here. It feels sort of light. It might be a kilo or so in terms of weight. When you place it out here, there are a few things about this laptop that we've liked. If you call them minor features and software tweaks, look, we're all for good tech here on Tech Today, and there's one elephant in the room which we have to address right at the end of this review, which is, well, sort of a bummer when we're talking about the new Spectre 360. You type in the password and you're here already. It has Face ID, and of course it has Touch ID as well. When I say that, I mean it has biometric authentication. But then there are a few features about this laptop that make it very interesting, and a lot of that action is happening here at the top with the camera. The camera becomes a big selling point with this laptop and a lot of other laptops in this price category, even the MacBook. Apple has tried to improve that front-facing camera. I think a lot of this has happened since 2020, when a lot of us have been working from home, working from anywhere, taking Zoom calls, FaceTime calls. Well, that's when this camera scores really high because of some of the software features. The first feature that strikes me is this button, which is a camera blocker, which is a small software hack. It gives you a grill out here, and that completely blocks out your camera with one button here in the function bar. That's really cool. Maybe the others can also take a cue, especially when we're getting so concerned about privacy and security nowadays, as we rightly should. This is a very cool feature. Turn the camera back on, and the minute the camera is on, it obviously has face tracking. It has a lot of AI tools which make it kind of interesting. But then you have HP's enhanced lighting. The minute you launch this app, the entire interface changes. As you can see, I will have a ring light installed on the screen, and there's no extra hardware needed. Again, hats off to the guys at HP. They are working on software. What can you do with this light? You can change the field of view. You can change the color that it emits, which I think is kind of cool. And then the intensity can be reduced. The intensity can be increased. I think it's a very cool feature. When a lot of us have purchased ring lights at home, you don't need unnecessary extra hardware. The last time we used a Nothing Phone 1 as a ring light, this time we have it embedded in the screen. That is fascinating, but that's not all. There are other small features with the camera when it comes to noise reduction, autofocus, auto tracking, which make this quite a good 1080p front camera. Now, one thing I really like about this is something that Apple hasn't managed to do yet. Apple has a fantastic iPad in its ecosystem, and then it has a fantastic MacBook. The thing is, a MacBook has no touch screen, and an iPad doesn't always work like a laptop for a lot of you. That's where these convertible laptops come in, because they come in with advanced specs. For instance, this has a 12th generation Intel Core i7 1255U. It comes in 8, 16 or 32 gigs of RAM options, 512 GB, 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes SSD, and the display gets bright enough when you want it to. The cool part is that this is still a touchscreen. A lot like the Surface laptops that we've had on the show in the past, the touchscreen is there for all of us to use and all of us to see. When you do use the touchscreen, it feels a little weird on Windows 11, which comes with this laptop, because Windows 11, while they did want to make it entirely touchscreen friendly, is still the Windows of yesteryear. It's kind of cool with the layout, but it's not as intuitive as maybe using an iPad or an Android tablet. Now, of course, this is a 13.5-inch display. It gets kind of bright at 500 nits of brightness. And when things aren't working out for you, given that this is a convertible, you can use this as a touchscreen tablet. Now, when you're using the touch, you will obviously want to use this pen, which can be magnetically charged. You can clamp it on a lot like an iPad to the corner. It's all right. It's nothing like an Apple Pencil, but I think it gets the job done. If you're an illustrator, someone who's doing this professionally, maybe you'd want a slightly more professional sort of a setup. But if you're taking notes and doing just fun drawings on it, I think. Well, now let's address the elephant in the room, which is the price. This is a premium laptop by any degree, but premium does not come for cheap. If you want to use this as a tablet, you want to use this as a laptop, you want this 13.5-inch vibrant display, it comes at a price that starts at 1,29,000 rupees. Now that is a lot of money for a laptop, and it becomes a lot more money when you're comparing it to the ultimate OG in this space, if you're okay with that software, which is the MacBook Air M2. Something we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, first on Tech Today, and we told you what it is capable of. That is a monster of a device, and it's nearly 1,20,000 rupees. There's a lot of schemes in the market which would make that a lot more affordable. Even the MacBook Air M1 is in a league of its own when it comes to processing and computing power. This, with the 12th gen Intel chipset, does a fairly decent job if you're using it for basic things, but you're going to spend a lot of money, and at 1,20,000, 1,30,000, anything above 1,20,000 rupees, you would want an absolute monster. Well, let me sum it up for you. If you're on the market for a laptop and a tablet, or a two-in-one, and you're okay with Windows, then this is one of the top premium offerings. A lot like the top-end Microsoft Surface laptops. But if this is not your thing and you want to spend anything upwards of 1,20,000, remember, you are getting into the MacBook Air M2 range, and that is an absolute beast of a machine. The choice is all yours.